My name's Jack Mercer. I'm 32, originally from Chicago, but I've been living in New York for the last 5 years. By day, I'm an advertising executive, navigating the high-stakes world of pitches, power lunches, and impossible deadlines. But what I'm about to tell you, this is the story I've never told anyone. I call it. She said she was tired of being alone, then looked into my eyes. It started one humid September evening, the kind of night when the city feels electric but also unbearably lonely. I was at my office's annual charity gala, a glitzy affair where clients and colleagues mixed with awkward small talk and fake smiles. I had just come off a grueling week. A campaign nearly fell apart, and my boss, Victoria, had been more demanding than usual. I was desperate for a break, or at least a moment to breathe. That's when I saw her. She was standing near the bar, all soft light and shadows, with a nervous smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Her name was Emily, a new copywriter on the team, barely 3 months in. I'd noticed her before, mostly because she had this quiet, almost fragile presence that stood in stark contrast to the loud, confident types around us. She wasn't like the rest of us battling for attention. I wandered over, clutching my glass like it was a lifeline. "Hey, I'm Jack," I said, trying to sound casual. She turned to me, eyes wide, like she wasn't expecting company. "Emily," she replied softly. We talked for a while about work, the city, little things, but there was something else beneath her words, a kind of weariness that caught me off guard. She told me she'd moved here from a small town upstate, chasing a dream that felt increasingly out of reach. She said, almost as if confessing a secret, "I'm tired of being alone, tired of pretending that everything's okay." Her voice trembled, and I felt a strange pull, like I wanted to reach out and fix whatever it was breaking her. "Why didn't you say something before?" I asked, surprised at my own concern. She looked down, her fingers nervously tracing the rim of her glass. Then, she looked back up, straight into my eyes, and in that moment, something shifted. "I didn't want anyone to see me like this," she whispered. "But with you, it feels different. Like maybe I don't have to be alone anymore." Her words hit me harder than I expected, because truthfully, I'd been feeling the same way. The office politics, the constant pressure to be perfect, the endless loneliness beneath the surface. I'd been drowning in it. We left the gala together, stepping out into the chilly night. The city lights shimmered around us as we walked, the noise of the party fading behind. Over the next few weeks, Emily and I grew closer. Lunches turned into late-night talks. Shared jokes became whispered secrets. But the deeper we fell, the more complicated everything got. Victoria, my boss, wasn't exactly thrilled about our connection. She pulled me aside one afternoon, eyes sharp as knives. "Jack, you know how important this campaign is," she said. "We can't afford distractions, especially not from you." I wanted to argue, but I could see the warning beneath her words. She was jealous, I think. She'd always had a thing for me, subtle but unmistakable. And now, with Emily in the picture, that line had blurred in ways I wasn't prepared for. Then there was my family. My sister, Rachel, had always been protective, maybe too much so. When I told her about Emily, she didn't hide her skepticism. "Jack, you barely know her," Rachel said over the phone one night. "You're rushing into something because you're scared. I get it, but be careful. You don't want to get hurt." Her words stung, not because she didn't care, but because she was right. I was scared. Scared of being alone. Scared of failing. Scared of opening up. Emily felt it too. One evening, sitting on the fire escape outside her apartment, she turned to me with tears glistening in her eyes. "I'm not just tired of being alone," she said. "I'm scared that even if I find someone, it won't last. That I'm broken in ways I can't fix." Her honesty shook me. I reached out and took her hand, squeezing it gently. "We don't have to have all the answers," I said. "Maybe that's the point. Maybe we just have to try." And we did. But life, as it often does, had other plans. The weeks that followed felt like we were living in a fragile dream, stolen moments in the chaos of our lives. Emily and I carved out a space where vulnerability was safe, where laughter came easy, and where the ghosts of our past softened just enough to feel hopeful. But beneath the surface, the tension was building. Victoria's disapproval became a silent threat. She started scheduling meetings that conveniently clashed with my time with Emily, sending pointed emails copied to HR, subtle digs disguised as professional concern. One afternoon, I walked into the office to find Victoria waiting, a calculated smile plastered on her face. "Jack, can I see you in my office? It's urgent." Inside, the air was thick with something unspoken. She leaned forward, voice low. "Emily isn't exactly the team player we need. I don't think she's ready for this industry, not emotionally or professionally." Her words hit like a slap. I wanted to defend her, to say she was talented and strong, but doubt crept in. Had I been fooling myself? Was I the one who was blind? At the same time, my family's warnings echoed louder. Rachel called again, more desperate. "Jack, I hate seeing you like this. I just want you to protect your heart." I realized then that this wasn't just about work or romance. It was a battle for my identity, for who I wanted to be. One night, Emily came over, her face pale and eyes haunted. "I have to tell you something," she said, voice trembling. "Before I came to New York, I was involved with someone dangerous. I left to escape that life. I thought I could start fresh." Her confession stunned me. "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because I was scared you'd leave," she admitted, tears spilling over. "But I can't run from it anymore." That night, we sat in silence, the weight of her past pressing between us. Then, as if fate wanted to test us, the danger she'd fled arrived. One evening, as I was leaving work, a man stepped out from the shadows. His eyes were cold, filled with the kind of menace you don't forget. "You're the reason she left," he said, voice low and threatening. Fear and adrenaline surged through me, but so did something else. A fierce protectiveness I hadn't known I had. "Leave her alone," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. The man laughed, a cruel sound. "This isn't over." I knew then that loving Emily meant facing not just the past but the darkest parts of it. And I was ready even if it meant risking everything. The days after that encounter were a blur of tension and uncertainty. Emily and I stayed close, leaning on each other like never before. We reported the threat to the police, changed our routines, and found strength in our fragile bond. Work became a war zone. Victoria's subtle sabotage escalated until I was called into HR for a performance review. I fought to keep my job, to keep the life I was building, but it felt like the walls were closing in. One late night, after another brutal day, Emily and I sat on her apartment floor, exhausted but unbroken. "I never wanted this to be easy," she said. "I just wanted it to be real." And it was real. All the heartbreak, fear, and hope tangled together like a messy, beautiful storm. Months passed. Slowly, the danger faded, Victoria's power waned, and my family began to accept Emily. But the scars remained, silent reminders of how fragile happiness can be. Looking back now, I see that moment on the fire escape for what it truly was. A turning point. Emily's tiredness, her fear, and her courage to look into my eyes and say she wanted to try. It was a gift, because love isn't about perfection or safety. It's about showing up, day after day, even when the world tries to tear you apart. If I've learned anything from this story, the one I never told, it's that the greatest risks lead to the deepest rewards. That sometimes, the only way out of loneliness is to let someone in, even if it means facing the shadows. And in that vulnerability, in that honest, messy love, we find who we really are.